How's it going? Just some thoughts on loyalty and accountability. I was in a medicine ceremony on Saturday, and a woman in the circle, part of her journey was the medicine showed her or gave her a teaching, I suppose, on loyalty and how sometimes being loyal towards people is kind of blocking other people. So we tend to let people away with things because they're our partner or a friend or we have history with them. And it really resonated with me. I would tend to have a history of being quite a loyal person for people, and also I'd be quite forgiving. I'd let people away with a lot. If we have a history or. But part of my own journey on that night and in the preceding days was around accountability and taking responsibility. And if you kind of listen to many of my videos or read articles and stuff, I really feel, and it's a strong part of my message, is taking responsibility. So we're here, we we can excel really by taking responsibility across the board for absolutely everything. So if there's a small pocket or window that you can say, my boss did this, my dad did that, whatever, it's a window of allowing the victim to breathe, and it's a window basically of not taking responsibility. And for me, the more we can take responsibility for, the more empowered we are. That suddenly we're in a position that we can manage or clear that situation or that energy. But as long as we're a victim, we're kind of at the mercy. You're kind of hoping the situation will change or that person will change. Good luck with that. That's not the way I work, and I don't really see any way out of that. We live in a kind of victim culture that there's currency of victimhood, and people enjoy it. They get attention off it, so they get affirmed. So they think it's purposeful or beneficial because more and more groups or people will flock around them or encourage them. Oh, poor you. Oh my God, we got to change the world. So it's trying to get away from that and say, no, take responsibility. So loyalty and accountability or responsibility tend to go hand in hand, I feel. For myself, yeah, I would tend to be quite forgiving with people, providing they are remorseful. So maybe that sounds a bit harsh, but it's kind of, if people realize their mistakes, I'm kind of okay with that, because I'm certainly quite flawed myself and have quite a flawed history. So I know I make mistakes and I know it can be difficult, and therefore if I realize that, it's healthy for me, and it's also quite challenging for me to own up to that and raise my hand. And as I learned years ago, the phrase, to clean my side of the street. I can't clear other sides. They have to take responsibility for that. But in recent weeks especially, I've been guided more and more to be stricter with this, to have less tolerance. And I've spoken before about feeling that I don't have time for this shit, and it's actually already really paying off. That the stricter I am with people who enter my life, if they're farting around or kind of feel they're wasting my time, it's like, I don't have time. Why waste my spiritual energy and my time with someone who's kind of fucking around and who's not really serious, or who's looking to play out their own roles or traumas or ego indulgences or whatever it is. It's like, no, good luck. And part of the fear of that is like fear of being rejected, fear of not being liked, fear of annoying this person or people, because there's been a few of them in my life. I doubt they're listening to this video, but if they are, welcome. Don't get in contact with me again. Unless you're remorseful. So there comes a point where, for me, I've felt, okay, draw the line. And there was that fear of like, oh, there'll be a lull of, I'm alone, that kind of thing. But what I've actually seen is quite the opposite, that by drawing that line, a higher vibration, a higher frequency, and higher people, more importantly, have entered my life. Now, this has been pointed out to me a few times in medicine work and holotropic breath work over the last 3 years, that, for example, in working with people or in working with women, if I'm putting out an energy and I'm accepting tantrums and lower frequency stuff or mind games or any of that stuff, well then I'm going to draw in people I work with who are working on that level. But if I don't tolerate that and I refuse that or refuse to work with that, I'm holding people to a higher standard, greater accountability, and thus I will draw in people who are ready to do that, it's more beneficial for me because it raises my frequency and energy. It challenges me to go further, and it's just more satisfying that I'm working with people who are ready, who are primed, and who are not looking for all the fucking loopholes to get away. Part of the journey as well is realizing that people who can't be accountable they're not wrong or bad or any of that stuff. So we could go down that fucking path of like, oh, he isn't ready he's really sick, or she's not spiritual enough. It's not really like that. They're in their journey. They'll go in. It's a cul-de-sac. They'll expand in that cul-de-sac to a certain degree, and flesh it out and realize there's no longer any growth in that. And accountability is also pretty much, it can be really connected to the heart. And for me, in the last 2-3 weeks, I've done a lot of work. I wouldn't say I've done a lot of work, but I've done some quite intense, challenging work for my own heart area to try and open that further, which is for me quite challenging. Encountering my own blocks and walls and numbness, if you like. So facing that, just allowing it to unfold and being willing to turn up and to try and work through it. If we're not prepared to move into that vulnerability and that maybe pain or sadness, which really challenges the heart and really challenges the ego, because the ego is the shell that wants to not feel that, oh, maybe I was wrong, maybe I made a mistake, I'm sorry I did that or said that or whatever. So the ego is there to not feel that. Some of us just aren't ready to allow that crack in and think, oh fuck, like I fucked up. And one of the excuses can be the shell of spirituality. I've talked before of some of my medicine work, or has been, and holotropic breath work and on the land and all that stuff, has been kind of clearing paedophile energy or satanic energy, demonic, underworld, all that kind of stuff. So my awareness is that I've done a lot of those things in previous lives to expand the masculine energy and to expand consciousness. So I don't see those things as being evil or bad, but they're not conducive to, higher expansion and higher growth. I don't believe in evil or bad, but some things are more beneficial to our evolution than others. It's as simple as that. It's more beneficial to do some exercise than sit on the couch watching Netflix all day. Simple as that. But it's not bad or evil to sit on the couch and watch Netflix all day. The things that I've experienced or done were not evil, but that's not to say there is not a remorse or a sadness or a healing of the pain that was inflicted upon myself or upon others. So I face that bit by bit, and it's presented and I work through it. But a nice ego insulation technique would be just to say, oh, it's not evil, it's just consciousness, I'm just doing what consciousness says. And that really would be just connected to the heart. It'd be a case of like, I can't go to that pain, I can't admit defeat, or I can't look at it, not ready. But the day will come where we have to kind of venture into that and go, okay, fuck, I feel that, and I feel like. So it is kind of tying in the spirit in the clouds with the human body, because the spirit in the clouds wants to kind of stay in the clouds and just think it's all spiritual, it's all fluffy. But the reality is, as I think I said in a recent video, we're banking human emotion. That's what the soul is doing here. It's gathering. As soon as we live it and bring that emotion home, it's banked, it's recorded, and we can evolve a little bit more. If we can't face it, I'm going to do a video on addiction soon, so if we can't face it and we're drinking or we're using or whatever, we're basically constantly putting that pain on the shelf, going, oh, I'll look at it another day, I'll look at it another day, I'll look at it another day. And days, months, years, maybe even lifetimes go past that we're just not We're not evolving in that area. We might be evolving in other areas, but we're not evolving in that. It's just constantly put on the shelf. So it's the same in kind of not being accountable. It's like we're not ready to go there. And that same as addiction, that can take hours, days, weeks, months, years, lifetimes. We see it in a lot of, say, politicians, sociopaths, psychopaths, people who can't look, they can't feel it. It's too much for them. So they're just disconnected from that kind of emotion or that kind of pain. And maybe they drink or they use or they do things as well to kind of aid or medicate and escape that. But eventually, like all dams burst, eventually the walls break, and we kind of realize, I'm not, an invincible politician or the spiritualist or whoever. Eventually I have a heart, and I fucked up, or I made a mistake, and it's not an intellectual thing. It's actually a feeling. We feel that remorse or that pain or that I need to resolve this. I need to clear my side of the street. I have a conscience. What else can I say in that? So I also realised, and I'm realising because there's still relationships in my life that I haven't breached this accountability or loyalty area with, that they will be presented in time. But I realised that there's time to move on. It's not always projection. Projection for me is if there's an emotion, if there's a resonance. So if I just feel, it's time for me to draw a line here, a boundary, and perhaps move along. If this person is willing and ready and able to come with me to a higher frequency, brilliant. And if they're not, that's cool, but I'm going on my own then. If there's a projection, if there's a vibration, if I'm triggered and I'm annoyed or I'm, really angry or really anxious, well then there's something I obviously have energetic work with this person. And I don't necessarily mean to meet the person or to talk with the person or to get them to apologize or any of that kind of thing. Don't need any of that. It's internal. It's like if I feel triggered, well then I have to work within me, clean and clear, and make peace with what is within me, and then I might be moved to just carry on the relationship or not. Or I might be moved to kind of go, no, I feel that's run its course. We just go where we're moved to go. So it's in kind of seeing the loyalty that we can kind of stay attached to people, that maybe by letting them go and going into the I have no friends, or maybe I'm unlovable, or such and such doesn't like me now, or any of that kind of thing, that unknown world is where there's new growth and new people and higher frequencies. And that's pretty much what I've experienced over the last few months of this year. As a few people have moved out of my life, or we've kind of both separated from each other, and there's been more than one, it's a case of new energy, new clients have come to me, or higher frequency of vibration. Now, I don't say that in a judgmental term. These people may return. I've also found that we float in and out of each other's lives when the time is right, when there's work there. It's not a case of closing the door on people or removing people. I know I've talked before about toxic, the modern world of like kind of, if he or she is toxic, you got to cut them out of your life. I don't subscribe to that. It doesn't feel right for me, and I've never done it. I feel if I feel a toxic vibration, it's within me, and it's my responsibility to clear that. And then that person will be removed, or we just won't gravitate towards each other. Or maybe we will on a higher frequency without that toxicity or dysfunction or whatever it is. Cutting them out is pointless. That's merely avoiding that projection. It's avoiding that work that we have. So I see that as being different from there actually being no trigger there, but it's a case of holding that person to account. And if they can't be accountable, well then, good luck. On we go. Anyway, don't know if that made any sense. I think it might have in some parts, and maybe not in others. So yeah, enjoy your day. Follow me on Instagram, because sometimes I just get times and moods, and I was in the medicine on Saturday, and part of me kind of thought, I think I'll skip Instagram and YouTube and just abandon all this. Sometimes I kind of just think I'll pack it all in and go away and do my own thing. And I do feel like that at times. And then I kind of think, no, there's another article I want to write, or there's another video I want to record or something. So follow me while I'm here, because I might disappear and you'll be one of a very select few, because there's not many. Anyway, thanks for listening, and there's a couple of links below that might be of use to you. Enjoy your day. Bye.